Stay tuned if you want to see how I turn this into this on another episode of Whitman's Custom Woodworking. Welcome everyone to Whitman's Custom Woodworking. I'm overdubbing this video because it was like 45 minutes long, and I'm going to try to edit it down. But if you're just tuning in, didn't see the previous videos, this is where I'm at. I made a nut for the large threaded rod, and that's what you're seeing here. I've modified the shape slightly so it'll work as a yoke for my three-legged stool that I'm trying to build. I need to cut the grooves for the legs using my small parts sled on the table saw. Looking nice. Then it's just too easy to shape it on the bandsaw and the sander to the line. Oh yeah. Back to the bandsaw to shape the legs. Just did that by hand. It's gonna work. Now the yoke is fairly short as far as thickness goes. It's thin, so I thought I might need a sleeve underneath it to encapsulate the threaded rod after it passes through the yoke. And I probably did this the most complicated way possible. Instead of just drilling a 2-inch hole down the center of the block, I quartered it, and I'm going to cut it off at the table saw and then hog out the rest at the router table. Super stupid to do it that way. I just didn't have a long enough bit to do it at the drill press. I mean, I guess I could have tried to come in from two different sides, but and meet in the middle, but I wanted to make sure that it was straight. You know, I didn't want the threaded rod to get bound up in there if I didn't do it, if I couldn't get it all the way through with the drill bits. So I just did it this way. It was, you know, what I thought of in the moment and just ran with it. It ended up working out alright. I did have to add a spacer in between each of the quartered pieces to make the dowel rod fit a little bit better. Now I just got to round it off. Enter the table saw lathe. You can see how I made that in previous videos, but essentially I just chuck that up in there, run it through the table saw a few times, raising the blade till I get the diameter I want, and boom, you got a perfect cylinder. Et voila. Now just attach that to the yoke using some Titebond 2 and some dowels, and it should work pretty good. Moving on to the footrest, I'm gluing up 8 staves to make a ring that's going to go around the perimeter of the legs about 5 inches or so from the floor. So I just glued them up here, and then I'll turn it into a ring later. Can't do it now because it wouldn't be strong enough. Butt joints, especially in-grain butt joints, are just notoriously weak, would break right apart. So I had to cut it and resaw each one of the halves into thirds so that I could shift the center one once it's together and overlap the seams. That way it'll be much stronger. I made a template for the ring the size that I wanted and double-sided taped that, and now I just got to trim off the excess at the bandsaw, and then the inside ring with the jigsaw, and then finally flush trim it on the router table. Now that I have the finished dimensions for the footrest, I can cut the corresponding groove in each one of the legs. And after a successful dry fit, I just began shaping the parts. And yes, I'm aware I did not show you me making the seat, but it's just a few boards glued together and cut into a circle. It's a nice profile. And I just glued that sleeve onto the bottom of the seat with some dowels, some tight bond too. And back to the router table, just profiling the footrest, the little bull nose profile on the outside of the ring, and the legs as well. At this point I went ahead and glued the threaded rod into the seat, making sure it was plumb, and then I just glued the legs onto the frame and waited for glue to dry. After I took it out of the clamps, I assembled it. Of course I had to test it out. Then just a lot of sanding. Yeah, I probably cut out about an hour's worth of video and sped the rest up like by 50, and it still seems like it's going on forever. It's never gonna end. Sanding, the bane of my existence. But I persevered, and here it is. Now it just needs a little finish. Everything's looking good. I'm liking the profile of the seat. Rounded over all the other hard edges. Looks good to me. Oh yeah. Can't wait to see what the oils will make it look like. But first, I have to test it out one more time. Yay. Before I call it done, I thought I would add my brand to the seat. I had this from a previous test on the CNC, and I'm just gonna inlay it on the seat, see what it looks like. I think it'll look cool. I used the bench grinder with a sanding wheel on it to do the threads. That was the easiest way to get that done. I just wanted to knock off any burrs and stuff. I wasn't about to try to do that by hand. Alright, so off camera I water popped the grain and let it dry. So now I got to give it another full hand sanding because that raised the grain a little bit. And I'll speed up through this again. Nobody wants to watch somebody rubbing on his stool. Let's just say I spent another hour at least making sure it was ready for finish everywhere. I went with a product that I've never used before called Natura One Coat. It's essentially a hard wax oil. I think it's got a linseed base and then a hardener. But you just rub it on and then let it sit a few minutes and wipe it off. But that's pretty much it. Let's see the reveal. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more videos.